Today's guest is a comedy powerhouse. She's a TV regular, co-host of the massive chart-topping podcast My Therapist Ghosted Me, and is currently selling out massive venues throughout the UK and Europe with her hilarious new tour, Paedophile. Get ready for this one. It's going to be a good one. It is, of course, Joanne McNally. Hello.
Sean.
Thank you for joining me. We've had to change chairs.
Yeah.
I normally sit there.
Yeah.
But you've demanded.
I have.
You've used your power.
Well, I gently requested. I don't have the privilege of symmetry, facial symmetry.
Okay.
I'm convinced I look like a different person from one side to the other. So I'm now very determined. All work will be done staring into the right-hand corner of the room.
How long has that been a problem?
Since birth.
You caught yourself in the back. Oh, no.
I don't want to I need to get it. I'll just have to wait till the facelift and ask them to sort it out. Everyone has a good side.
Wait until the facelift. Come on, you're not fooling anyone.
All the staples down the side of my face. I'm like a paper mache ball. I'll get the facelift on my 50th birthday.
Okay.
And deny it.
And we'll unwrap you.
Yeah.
So fantastic. Right. I'm going to ask you a question that you won't. I don't think you might not care. I wouldn't like answering this. I want you to describe. This is normally something that's asked in like a bad local radio interview.
Okay.
But I want you to describe your act.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know why we don't like these questions, because it feels quite self-indulgent.
Oh, that's what I'm sorry. That's what this is. It's awful.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would say she is
okay. Yeah.
me,
sure.
but like she is me, but she's definitely on some sort of amphetamine. So she's a bit more of an aggressive version of me. I'm not as hostile off stage, but she is.
Sure.
It's a single woman, no kids, unmarried, drinker, likes to party. That's the character in inverted commas.
Yes.
And that is who I am, and it is my material, it is my life and my stories mashed in with some of the girl stories that I steal from time to time. But it's definitely a hammed up version. If that was me all the time, I'd have no mates. I also think it's fun to, when I started, I never went down I never had any, like, there was never any morals or ethics, or, you know, I was never right on or anything like that. So
yes, yeah,
I think that's fun because no one expects anything. You can I kept the tone pretty irreverent from the start.
Yes.
Like,
exactly.
I'm slightly problematic, but not not in a way that you'd actually get anything would happen to you for it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I think, and I think that's okay.
Yes, I think. Yes,
I'm not. It's an intentional choice.
Got you.
But I like a little kind of little shock like a little kind of poke every now and again. It's fun.
Yes. Where do you think?
Like, I'm not Frankie Boyle, but like.
No, but were you like that to go straight to the classroom? Were you like that at class?
I was
that kind of knowing that's wrong, going to poke that bear.
I was a bit.
Did you get in trouble for that?
Yes. My problem in school was I wasn't like, I was disruptive, but I wasn't bold.
Right. So disruptive, you wasn't bold. You weren't bold.
Bold in the Irish term, not the English term. Bold in the English term is like kind of outspoken or
yes.
something.
What is it in the Irish term? My auntie's using. Yes.
I have a memory playing kiss chase in primary school. There went there's a photo of me as a kid in like this Benetton outfit and a huge big 80s hair, and I have a massive bruise all under my chin, all down my neck. Like, it looks like I've had a baby facelift.
Yeah.
And I remember how it happened. I was playing kiss chase and there was a guy in my class and I was in love with him. We were like 5.
Yes.
And every lunch, God love him, he'd just see me and he'd just start running. And I just and I ripped his hood. I was trying to catch him to score him. Like,
yeah,
I know. Now you'd be fucking.
You can't do that.
It was a full little baby Weinstein.
You'd have been.
I was tried to grab his hood and I ripped. This is how much the little boy wanted to get away from me. I ripped the hood, detached. I ripped it off and I completely face planted myself. Yeah.
You cancelled yourself.
He just kept running. They're ringing the bells. There's like paramedics. He's just off in the hills going, I can't handle her anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So boys, right. So boys enter the story. They enter the sphere.
Well, they were all. There was always a little. There was always a boy. There's always a boy.
And then there's always a boy, and then that's more kind of attention seeking.
No, it's validation. I'm not sure about myself. So and this person doesn't seem sure about me either. So if I convince them, do you know the way when someone's mad about you, you're like, well, they seem ill-informed. I'll direct my attention to the person who doesn't seem, where you can tell by his eyes the jury's still out. So I'll go and win him over.
We're very different.
What are you? The
Oh, you like me? Right, stay here. Don't leave me. Please remain.
But you know what? A friend of mine, Nora, she had a great saying about lads. She was like, men are like rivers. They will take the path of least resistance. I was like, so true. I might get it tattooed as a tramp stamp for my 50th. Or across my chest.
Right. So, okay, I mean, that's at school. But what about at home? Is it the same? You're still kind of misbehaving?
I was normal bold. I wasn't like, until I hit my 20s, and then I became a complete degenerate. And then reined it back in when I hit my 30s.
I'm not sure I believe that bit, but okay. But we don't have time.
Yeah, we don't have time. Yeah, maybe in my 50s. But no, but I was quite well ahead. But I was, the normal stuff. Like I had a lovely big gang of friends. I had a lovely social scene. I just remember laughing loads and drinking in fields and all that great stuff that kids get up to. We used to drink dolly mixtures, which there's a different. Yeah, so I don't know what you call them over here in your land.
Yes.
But basically what you do is, we were like 14, 15, obviously dying for the gargle. And so you couldn't access it yourself. There was two options. You could either stand outside an off licence and get ripped off by an old lad because you'd hand him 20 punt. I sound so old. I love it. I'm so glad I'm at this stage in my life.
Yes.
Liberating. In my day. I fucking love it. So you'd hand him money and he'd go in and buy you 2 cans, but he'd keep the change. So that was always bad business.
Yeah. All right. Yes.
You know, or you could just nick it out of your parents' drinks cabinet. So we'd wait until until your mum or dad had left the house. So mum would do the big shop on the Saturday afternoon. She'd be out doing the big shop.
Yes.
So I would scramble into the dining room, lash open the drinks cabinet and just fill. You could never take too much from one bottle or they'd know.
Yes.
So you had to take bits and bobs from all the different bottles, which means you'd mix them all.
Oh my good Lord.
I know. That's why I'm such a good drinker now. Fucking work that immune system.
The training.
Right down. Yeah.
Well done. You put in the hours.
Yeah. And then, but you'd panic because you wouldn't always have a bottle ready. So like sometimes she'd do the big shop on a Friday and you weren't prepared. But you weren't drinking till Saturday. You didn't have the bottle ready. So then one Friday she went out to the big shop and I was like, fuck. Because I knew the window of time was such, and we didn't live near a shop as such. So the only thing I had was my mother was just back from Lourdes, you know, the holy place in France. So my mum would come back with this huge holy bottle of it was Holy Mary, and the crown was like her lid, and it was full of holy water.
Holy water.
I mean, from the fountain of Bethlehem vibes.
Yes.
And I was like, fuck it. Dumped it. Yeah, I know, it's so bold. Dumped it all out and then filled it with like Campari and martini and gin and vodka and Baileys and what's that green shit? Vermont.
Oh, I know.
And then strapped her lid back on her, strapped her crown back on her, and then took her in the backpack out on the Saturday night. But I was like, it's grand because I just refill it with normal water. No one will ever know. But I fucking lost the thing. And then of course, Mum went to fill in her little head dab fountain at the door where you put your finger in and dip your head in the.
Oh my! I remember mine.
Baptise yourself every day going out the door.
Yeah.
And she went to refill it. She's like, "Where's Mary?" And did Mary turn up 2 years later, face down in a field? Swear to God, she turned up. So the field was attached to a couple of friends' houses. It was a little playground. She turned up. I couldn't believe it. Like Lent, but for 2 years. She turned up face down. The lid was gone, but Mary was there. Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing.
Oh wow!
Yeah, she came back like a little boomerang.
You should read that at church maybe on a Sunday. That would be lovely.
Yeah,
I think everyone would really appreciate that.
I was like, thanks for getting me fingered in a field, Mary.
Cut that bit.
Cut that.
Right. So grew up in Ireland. Let's pause there. Grew up in Ireland. Where are we? Your childhood. Dublin.
Born in Roscommon, adopted out of Roscommon. I say upcycled because Roscommon is, no offence to Roscommon, but Dublin's a great city.
Okay, great.
Don't piss them off.
Upcycled, very nice.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And then lived there and then moved to London when I was like, I don't know, what was it, 30 or something like that?
Right, so it was nice. Where you grew up, your childhood is nice.
Yeah.
What are the houses? What kind of houses are we looking at? If I'm picturing it, I'm always What's that? You know, when you remember your childhood,
Yeah.
if you're out, I don't know if you played out in the streets or whatever that is, but what do you see?
So I grew up in a place called Killiney, which is a very nice part of the south side of Dublin, which is Dublin's kind of split in two, and it has this notorious reputation that's actually not really true anymore, but the north side is kind of up against the south side.
Which one's
It's all
nice? Which
very-
one's nicer?
It's all very jets and what are they called? Jets and dolphins. What are they called?
I don't know what you're talking. You talking about American football?
No, the old musical.
Oh, West Side Story. Right, I see.
Jets and who's?
Right, and you were in the nicer side.
Well,
you grew
it's-
up on the nicer side at the time.
That's the reputation.
That's what they said.
Yeah, but my parents, what they did was they didn't come from money. They didn't have money. They were very normal, as you'd say. Like my mum's a nurse. My dad, he's long dead now, but he was a draftsman. But what they did was they were very good with money. So they saved all their money, and they wanted us to grow up in a nice area because they'd be big into they wanted to kind of upwardly mobilise us, I think.
Yeah.
And they put all the money into the schools and they bought a house in a nice area. And then we just sat inside for 20 years. I'm only messing. We went on holidays and stuff. But they...
So if I were to force you to say it was a class, it would be middle. It would be
Oh, definitely middle class. Yeah, for sure.
kind of lower middle, but they're reaching up. And they're reaching up. And
Middle.
Middle.
It was so funny because I didn't understand the class. British people are
English, yeah.
obsessed with class.
Yes, very much so.
Whereas in Ireland, obviously we have a class system, of course.
Yes.
But, it's not the same it's not as fractured as here, I don't think. Or people aren't as obsessed with it. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I can afford to say that because I'm middle class. I don't know.
Well, yeah. Well. Let's almost test it, I suppose. How do you think that upbringing, that class, as you've called it, how that helped to define you as a child?
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? So if you are from the nice part of Dublin,
Yeah.
or what is perceived as the nice part of Dublin, then how does that kind of separate you from children that perhaps weren't?
Oh, well, it meant that I always had a backup so I could fanny around for a while. I always felt secure. I didn't have to, I went to college, or university, you'd call it. I did arts. I could afford to, I didn't have to go and get a job straight away. Is that what you mean?
Well, I mean, so I suppose just generalising maybe. I mean, that's partly what I meant. But is it my parents took me to the theatre. Were you going to the theatre?
Actually, we did. She used my mum.
Did you? There you
Yeah.
go.
She used to bring me to a lot of musicals. I think
Really?
because she said that when I arrived that I kind of tap danced into the house, and she was like, because they'd be quite a conservative family, and her family are conservative. My father's family is conservative enough.
Right.
There was no one there was no one acting or doing
Yeah.
anything like that. They all had real jobs.
Yes.
And
quote
so,
unquote. Yeah.
So she said she didn't really know what to do with me, because we've discussed it since. Because there was a moment in time where I kind of resented that I was really pushing to go into acting and stuff. And so she had me in drama and everything like that.
Again, when?
When I was...
Are you like a little? Are we talking about a little girl, a little
Yeah.
Joanne? Oh, well, I did. Right. Okay. So yeah.
But
how
in the
old?
school, I
I
didn't...
know, but I know you're kind of downplaying that, but it's interesting because you've ended up being a performer that plays to thousands of people. You can't downplay it. It almost sounds crucial.
Yeah, I guess you know what? I never really thought about it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you're at that age already standing in front of other children, perhaps parents performing. I mean,
yeah, I did a lot of reading poems at the start. They're kind of everyone read it, and then in the nativity, I was often Mary or Jesus.
Okay, you can say I was the star. I was the star. I was God. I was Mary and Jesus.
I was Mary
it was a
and
one-woman
Jesus.
play.
And then I remember, because I didn't at the time, didn't really realize it was that weird. But in primary school, when we were I think it must have been 9 or something, and we did Papa Panev as our school play.
What's that?
It's a play about the Russian Revolution.
Sure.
And I was and we were all these 9-year-olds singing, "Bread, give us bread. If you don't, we'll soon be dead." And I, at the time, I don't know, was our drama teacher having a breakdown and wanted to move away from the traditional kind of you know,
Yes.
nativity.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
all the parents rocked in and we were all dressed like
Now that
Russian peasants. But I remember my drama teacher desperately wanted me to audition for the role of Papa Panov, which was the lead. But I didn't want to because I was nervous, because I felt like she really wanted to give it to me, but I was nervous I wouldn't get it because I lacked confidence.
Well, okay, so right. Fascinating. You lacked confidence.
Yeah.
She believed in you.
She did. Miss McDonough, yeah. She was like,
Miss
are you
McDonough.
not, Miss McDonough, she was like, are you not going to audition for Papa Panov? And I was like, no, I really want to be the Tsar, but I didn't want to be the Tsar, Sean. I wanted to be Papa Panov.
Okay.
And then someone else got the role because I just refused to audition for it. So I always had that, you know.
So, all right.
issue.
So you loved the attention, but were afraid of failure.
I had stage presence as a kid. I was just loud. I remember that was all. You just got
Yeah.
the lead if you could throw your voice. That was ultimately what acting was as a kid.
Yes, but you loved the attention.
I loved the stage. Like I remember we'd be standing in the wings, and everyone would be really nervous, and I'd be like elbowing people out. I would have done the whole play. I would have done every character myself,
Every role.
every role. And then in transition year in secondary school, we did The Sound of Music, but it was a convent school, so we weren't allowed any boys, so we had to play all the roles. And then I was really coming into my flow, so I did audition for the main role in Sound of Music, which is
Oh, I'm sorry. This is awful. I've still not seen it.
what?
It's terrible. I know. I somehow missed that. I was a big Mary Poppins guy.
I can see that.
Yeah.
That tracks.
Yeah. By the way, what is the lead?
Liesel.
Liesel.
Liesel is the daughter of the Von Trapps. Well, sorry, no, Maria is the main lead, but I was never going to get Maria because I can't really sing. So then I went for Liesel,
Right.
and I didn't get that, and instead I was Ralph the Telegram Boy.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and that's something that has really stuck with me.
I'll show them. I'm gonna watch. I wait until I sell out 4 nights to the Apollo. So what did change? Where did the confidence come from then?
Well, again, I had to go back. Like, I didn't go to any of the auditions originally for The Sound of Music, and then I had a come to Jesus moment. And I was like, no, I'm going to go down and audition. And she was like kind of shutting down the piano, and I was like, no, I'm here. I'm here to take my role as Liesel. And then and she was like, oh my God, you know. And then I sang, and she's like, nah, you'll be Rolf. You're not 16 going on 17. You're going to be 17 going on 18. You're going to be dressed like a man. Get out of here. Didn't do much for my confidence, I have to say. It didn't exactly bring out my femininity.
So can you remember? Because I do, and I appreciate that if you don't, because I'm trying to make you go really far back. Your parents have adopted you, and like you say, you've come tap dancing in. Yeah. Do you know where that comes from?
You know, as a kid, you're like, oh, that's, especially because as an adopted kid, you're always trying to figure out where you came from. And of course, you're fantasizing that you've come from this amazing background. I mean, at one point, I thought I was Anastasia.
Okay, right.
You know that
Sure,
kind of
yeah.
stuff. Well, then what happens is, so I kind of thought, because I knew I had this, I just had a stage. I had confidence on stage as a kid, right? And not
Yes.
all kids do. So you're like, okay, I wasn't, winning baby BAFTAs or anything, but I knew that was something I could do that other kids couldn't do. Like, not all of them. Some of them could, obviously.
Yes.
And I was good at writing, so I'd be asked to read out my stories in the class, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
things that you feel like, oh, because you're so lacking in identity that you cling on to those little bits and bobs because you were just basically spat into a house in Killarney. You have no context for yourself. So, and because it's not in my adopted family, I then, of course, was the imagination ran riot as to where I'd come from. And I was like, I've obviously come from a pantomime dynasty, because at the time I was always went to the pantomimes and stuff. So that was all I knew. So I was like, I'm from a dame, clearly. Jack the Beanstalk, something like that.
Yes.
And so, and then that kind of kept me going for a while. And then I was convinced that when I met my birth parents, that there would be some sort of performer
Reveal.
Yes. And of course,
And it would all make sense. And
of course, everything would click into place.
Yes.
And I'd be like Gabriel Byrne's daughter or
Yeah.
Saoirse Ronan's daughter.
Yeah.
I'm not great on dates, so
Yes.
I'm like, even though she's younger than me, I'm like, maybe that could work.
Yeah.
But of course I met them, and of course they're completely not involved in that scene at all. And then I was like, so what happens now? Like, where do I go now? And my birth father said, he was like, you're just you. which of course threw me at the time. But he's right. I am. There's nothing. That's not to say that that's not there. It just wasn't nurtured, or they didn't.
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
I've noticed in my time there's quite a few adopted comedians.
I know.
Yes. And
I have noticed that.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I have looked into this.
You've actually looked into this, or you have some thoughts?
No, I've looked into my thoughts on this.
Okay, so what did your thoughts tell you?
Yeah, because I dated a comic before who was also adopted, and we were like, trying to figure out it, because when you meet especially another adopted comic, there's a big kind of connection there, because adoption is an experience that not everyone has.
Yes.
And a lot of it, they say adoption, because at the time but there was a time in my life up to only about a couple of years ago where if anyone tried to bring adoption up in conversation as a cause of any of my behaviours, I was like, I wouldn't have it at all, because I was convinced that adoption had absolutely no impact on me whatsoever, and I just thought it was really reductive and ignorant of people to say.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? But of course, anyway. So adoption. There's something.
Wait.
I did read
of course,
a thing.
you go on to then discover actually there's
it's all about it. It's probably
yes.
Yeah, it's
a lot
probably
into that.
Yeah, the core of
It's
everything.
all
really.
that.
Yeah, it's everything. It's absolutely everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But what I was going to say is that there's some studies that say that when you're an adopted kid, you struggle for where belonging, identity, all that stuff,
Connection,
and proving yourself, and it's like proving you're worthy, or proving you should exist, and all that stuff, and that's why we all end up. But who fucking knows?
Yes. And when did you find out you were adopted?
I always knew. I think my parents are really smart about it. So she said, this is another thing I think why I was a confident kid. Some adopted kids, they feel kind of rejected or whatever, but my parents said that everyone loved me so much that they were all scrapping for me, and that the second I arrived in, they turned into a bedtime story. Everyone loved you so much. I was like passed around, like that. Basically, my birth parents, like, they loved me so much that they knew they couldn't give me what I deserved. They loved me so much that they gave me to my parents to love me even more and give me all the things that they knew that I deserved. So I was just a big love bubble.
Wow, that's almost.
I was like,
sounds
God,
like being a celebrity.
Yeah, I'm hot shit. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So it was nicely handled, in fairness to
It
them.
does sound it.
Yeah.
It's a very nice way of dealing with it.
Do you know what I remember? And it's so embarrassing that I remember this. When I started in school and I realised, oh, not everyone's adopted. This is actually currency. People want to hear about this. So I would stand in the yard telling these fucking mental stories, killing my birth parents off in plane crashes, anything dramatic. It was like basically my first one-woman show.
Yes.
And
at lunchtime?
Yeah.
So at lunchtime at school, you could catch Joanne McNally doing her one-woman show about being adopted.
Yeah, I'd be doing a tight 40 up the top of the yard. Then standing up with a bucket after.
Was it a comedy?
No. It was just when I was just a little attention-seeking child.
Yeah.
And I realised that the adoption, so I would just ham it up massively. I do remember I'd kill them off in all sorts of ways. Avalanches, you name it. Yeah. So there were signs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so we know, right, you wanted to... So how serious were you as a kid or teenager in secondary school about being an actress?
I wouldn't say it was so...
It's not like you wanted to be a kind of star.
No.
Okay.
I think because my mother is, and I love my mother very much, and she loves me very much. In fact, I would say too much at times.
Sure.
She's a real mother. I was just assumed I'd go down a kind of traditional job route. And I remember my mum saying at the time, she's like, acting and all that jazz. She goes, I know you like it, but it's a hobby. It's not a real job, Joanne. So you're not going to...
That was said to you.
Oh,
that
yeah.
kind of cliche.
Yeah. You'll starve to death. You'll never make it. All the lovely confident things that all the pep talks that your parents give you.
Yes.
She's like, you'll starve to death. It's not... That's a hobby, Joanne. What you need to do is get a pensionable job, get a mortgage.
Pensions were mentioned.
Ah!
How early on were pensions mentioned to you?
Too early. Because that's what they did.
Were you aware of
and bearing
the importance of money then?
Well,
from a young age, the
well-
kind of seriousness of it. You know,
yeah, I was aware of the serious. I was aware of the importance of, but I mean, I wasn't obviously that aware because I didn't do it. Do you know what I mean? But I was a bit away with the fairies, and she was trying to bring me back with like
yes.
the real world chats that you give your kids about. You know,
Yes.
you have to make a living. You can't just fanny off into the arts.
Okay. And what was that?
Well, that was the thing. I was like, well, what then? And she was like, oh, I don't know. And so then I wanted to nurse because my mother's
because
a nurse.
she was.
And I worked in nursing homes as a carer for a couple of years. And
So how old were we? So that wanting to be a nurse, when was that?
Well, so firstly, do you know when you're a kid, you're like, there's 3 jobs. There's doctor, dentist, vet.
Okay.
So I was like,
You're saying that like that's the thing. I don't think that's the...
well, like for a middle class kid, I guess. I'm
Okay, right,
showing my
fine,
class now.
fine.
That was what I was. They were my options.
Is that what everyone... So what did everyone you kind of grew up around go on to do? That was kind of it. Everyone could have been
so
one of
my
those...
mum's family would have been doctor, dentists, solicitors. That would have been that. She says the money ran out for college because she's like from a big Irish family, so she nursed.
Sure.
And,
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And then my friends have all gone on. They've all got really interested. Like there's like teachers and there's designers and there's like hedge accountants and one of them owns a nail bar. They've all done various things.
Well, so if we were to go back to this Aristotle quote.
Oh, go on.
Yes, which is, give me a child until the age of 7 and I will show you the foundations of the man.
Oh, yes.
Right, yes. So at 7, what's Aristotle saying about you? What does he think he's got?
He's got a double denim wearing, tap dancing, line dancing child. I did a bit of line dancing as a kid. Just drop that in.
I mean, he's not going to be far off then, is he?
No.
I mean, I don't think you have to be Aristotle. I think I could have probably gone that kid's going to be in the world of
Take the quote.
entertainment.
Take it yourself.
Yeah.
He's dead. He's not going to care. No, it was definitely. I lost.
It feels like life's actually a bit of a detour. It feels like at 7, when you're a kid, you come tap dancing in, you want to be the star of this play, you want to be a star of that play. And then it feels like we actually go on a detour and then we come back later.
Yeah.
So so we've ended up, you wanted to be a nurse, you mentioned.
Yeah, it's my mother's fault, of course.
So it's,
Obviously,
right.
she ruined my dreams.
And what did that feel like? That's quite interesting to me. There's like, you're a kid, nothing can kind of hold you back in the imagination of a child.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it's no, wait, we've got to rein in this imagination.
Yeah.
You've actually got to do something, like you say, a normal job, a real job.
Yeah.
How does that feel? Do you remember?
I was a bit wayward. I can understand why. I think she said it since, because we have spoken about it. She was like, I was nervous. I didn't know what to do with you. I hadn't dealt with you before. Like, as in, my brother caused less hassle, like professionally. He went on, he's done accountancy. It's like, it's something she can identify. It's a tangible job. It makes sense.
This brother was in the family that you were adopted into?
Yeah.
Okay. And was he adopted?
He's adopted as well.
Right. Okay.
So that's what she's used to. You get a job that you get, like, so when I did my first show and there was a poster down in Cork, I was in a show called Singlehood. So it was like,
okay,
real people in inverted commas like myself who had no kind of acting experience and stand-up comics, and we were all standing up telling stories about our love lives. That's how it started.
Oh wow.
And then a stand-up said to me, I think you could do
sure,
stand-up, and that's how it kind of began.
Right.
But I was on this poster down in Cork with the other cast. I was directed by Una McKevitt, and one of my cousins rang my mum, was like, is Joanne acting now or something? And mum said, she is, but don't tell the family. Don't tell the family. Yeah. Yeah. So that was kind of
all right. So
it was a bit like, she was worried. I wouldn't say embarrassed, but she was worried.
By the way, I think that's clear.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to kind of hammer that home too much. I think that's
Poor
a normal,
Pat.
yeah, that's a kind of very regular parenting concern.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So now what we really have to do is kind of work out how we get from. Did you say you weren't a nurse. You worked in a
Alzheimer's home.
Did you? How old are we now?
We're in university now.
So what were you studying at university?
Arts, English and sociology.
So and by this point, your life in showbiz is dead.
very, very much dead.
And have you forgotten about it? That's I find this bit fascinating because we now know how you begin and we know where you end up. But there's this middle bit where you're not the performer.
No.
So where does that go? Do you know what I mean? Does it just kind of lay dormant, or is it coming out somewhere else?
Well, I think it's why I got so sick.
Right. Well, you're going to have to explain the sickness.
So I got very unwell with an eating disorder. I had kind of anorexia and bulimia. I kind of went hard and got them both. Well, more bulimia
After
really.
university?
Oh, it was slowly building. It's been building probably all my life, really.
Okay.
I was kind of a chunky kid, and then I carried.
Did someone say something? Was that coming from elsewhere? Were people saying things that made you feel bad, or was actually this internal, and you were seeing it in the mirror, and actually everyone else would have been like, "What are you on about?"
Oh no! I definitely had I had a bit of weight on me for sure. I was like, not all girls. Some girls get away. They don't have anything on them. They grow up. They're like little bean pals.
Yeah.
But I was. Like not even curvy, my God. But it was the 90s. It was like heroin chic, Kate Moss, crack dens, size zero, Juicy Couture, Paris Hilton. Nothing tastes as good as being skinny fit.
Yes.
I was growing up when all that was happening. So that has a huge implant on you.
Wow.
Imprint on you even. And also I was an adopted kid with a bit of weight on me. I mean, come on.
I
just decided myself.
Yeah. But that's, by the way, that is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And but it does sound like you've just said, which is horrible. It is that actually it was a culture that made you feel like that, as opposed to being bullied.
There's also a little when I met some of my birth family, it's actually there was a lot of it there.
Oh, okay.
Which I thought was interesting.
Yes.
So I think there's a little. I'm a quite compulsive person, and I think I've inherited that. And
right.
I think I was a ticking time bomb. I don't think I was ever going to get out without having some stint.
Yeah.
With an eating disorder.
Yeah.
But then I think in hindsight and having done the therapy and all that jazz, that the performing was gone. That was gone. That was because I was never going to be able to do that on my own. I never would have had I had no training as an actor anymore. I was never going to do stand up. That was not my radar. So what was I going to do? Spoken word? No.
There's no comedy at this point.
No.
Parents don't watch it at home.
No.
You're not going to a comedy club?
Nope.
Do you have any kind of extra interest in comedy films?
Yes. I love laughing.
Bingo.
Yeah. And I was the clown in school for sure. I was like, I just sit on my own because I was disruptive because I was laughing all the time. Yeah.
You were the class clown.
I was. I'm sure there's girls at home being like, you were dry as fuck. They were in school with me. They're were you? Yeah.
Sure.
But I felt that was definitely, I was giddy and laughing and disruptive, and I'd kind of,
What were you trying to get from that being disruptive? Do you know?
Because I just loved chatting and laughing and telling, just making people laugh.
But still doing the work, still getting the grades.
It wasn't a massive issue, but it was all this. If Joanne applied herself, God knows what she could do. That all. Yeah, there was a lack of application.
I still think that now.
So do I. Isn't that what's so sad? I do as well. Oh God.
No, and being a class clown then was what? So what we're talking? Talking too much?
There was a lot of laughing. I remember, God loved them. I used to have a very weak pelvic floor, which I have since worked on. If you're thinking now about my pelvic, I've had it worked on.
Okay.
But I used to wet myself all the time laughing in school. So I'd be constantly going around smelling the piss on my uniform because I'd have wet myself in double German again. And I'd be down in the locker room and they'd be like, no, they'd see me coming. They're like, you're not having my jumper, because I'd need people's jumpers to wrap around my waist because I'd have leaked through my own. So that was what I was doing.
Okay. Right. And those detentions.
All that stuff.
But not, I'm going to hazard a guess, not suspended.
No, but when I went to, there was never a serious suspension, but then it's a kind of, I left and went to France for a while.
What?
Yeah, I went to school in France for a while, and then the school.
Sorry, why did you go to France?
To learn French. Bonjour.
You did? Oh, this is your choice.
Well, no, my mum sent me over.
She sent you to France.
Is that not a thing in England where you kind of do a little?
Well, there's pupils can do exchanges.
Yeah, we just didn't exchange anyone. We just didn't take anyone back. We just rinsed all their
They all
resources.
went, we're not going. They can come here, but we're not going there.
Yeah, we're not going back with her. So I went to school in France for a while.
Again, I'm going. Sorry, I'm getting tired of asking this. I apologise, but how old are we here?
15.
50. You went to France,
15 when I went, 16 when I came back.
and
And then I had to go to a different school. And no one's clear on why that happened. But I'm pretty sure the understanding was none of the honours teachers would take me anymore. The top set teachers were like, we're not taking her anymore.
Oh,
So I was
sure.
going to have to go down. And my mum was like, you're not going down because of you can't do the classes. You're going down because you're pissing off the teachers.
yes,
So she was like, you're going to do honours. So she moved to school.
right, which is an amazing bit of parenting.
Oh yeah, she's a machine.
That's amazing.
So I went to college.
Yes.
And then I went and I did a master's in public relations.
Masters. That's impressive.
I can't say PR over here because everyone's like PR, whatever.
PR.
The English or I did PR. I was a publicist.
Right.
And then
Why? Just out of
because I could write, someone told me I wanted to write.
where did this want of writing come from? Where did this ability to write
I don't know.
stem from? You don't know.
No.
So were you reading a lot as a kid?
Yeah, I read a lot as a kid.
Parents encouraged that, forced that on you?
No, I think I really liked reading. But like as kids, I'm so glad that we had that. Like now I don't know if they have it as much because they have so much other stuff to do. I mean, I wasn't
Phones, smartphones,
yeah,
and iPads
all that
and whatnot.
jazz.
Yeah.
So we had to read. I sound like a Victorian
Yeah,
child.
but well, hang on. Well, I have to kind of argue that because you didn't have to read. You could have found lots of other things to do that weren't reading.
I think whatever I arrived with certain bits. There's like the nature versus nurture debate, and there were certain bits that I arrived with in my brain already.
Yes.
And reading and writing, I think, was one of them.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So now, okay. So you're using that now to go and do a master's in PR.
Yeah, because I didn't have the confidence. I wanted to do journalism.
That's so fun. Yeah, it's
someone
almost like
said,
you're. Yeah. It sounds again like that thing of not going up for the lead.
I was so,
Doesn't it? It kind of mirrors that.
Totally.
Is you want to do that, but oh no, I don't want to lose that, so I'll stand behind the star.
If anyone told me to do anything, I would have done it. So I did. So I was like, I want to do journalism, and then there was a girl that I was in college with. I wanted to do a master's in journalism, and she said, "Yeah, it's a really tough job, journalism. My parents are journalists, so you have to sell your granny for a story." So I bottled it, and then I was going to do
that conversation.
Yeah, this is
that
how
one conversation made you decide against doing that.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? It's 20 years ago, so maybe there was more to it. But at the time,
Okay, yeah.
And then I was going to do a doctorate in sociology, so I was going to go into academia. And then because I was offered this because I sound like I'm fucking showing off now, but I'm just explaining what happened. So I came first in my degree in sociology. So when you come first in your degree, they give you a scholarship you can skip the masters and go and do a doctorate. So I was offered that. And because I was didn't know what the fuck I was doing, I was like, oh, I'll do that. I'll go into academia. And then my friend Anya was like, you'll what? She's like, you'd hate it. So I was like, so then I just dropped that then. I was like, okay, I won't do that. Anything anyone told me to do or not do, I just did it or didn't do it. It was crazy.
Wow.
That's why I ended up in stand-up. That comedian told me you should do stand-up, so I did it.
Yes.
Don't tell me to do anything. I'm worried.
Well, do.
Yeah.
But it's remarkable because why that's remarkable, even like with how you've described kind of your childhood or your life, I suppose, up to this point, plus your act, as it were, which I, forcefully made you describe, that there's a clumsiness to it all. It's almost like you've kind of fell up the stairs. You've somehow managed to fall up them.
So lucky.
And then end up, to get a first in a degree, that's not, nothing.
No, it's not nothing. I think I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I knew I was capable of something, but I just didn't know what it was.
I think the word is, it's exceptional. You might not want to say it, but to go, right, I don't know what I want to do. I don't really have a clue. My friend said I should do that, and my friend said I should do that bit of that. And then so you go, all right, so I'll do it. And then bang, you get a first.
Easily led.
You're easily led, but then you still have the ability.
I think I was panicking because I was like, I knew that I was very determined, and I knew I wanted to be successful. I wanted to succeed at something. I wanted to be really good at something.
Well, you've not mentioned that. So that's,
oh yeah.
There's that desire, that need. It feels like a necessity to be the best at something.
Totally.
Wow.
That's why I'm so shit at maths. Because I realised from day one I wasn't going to excel at maths. I wasn't going to be really good at maths. So I went, well, fuck this then. And I just tapped out.
Yeah.
I was like, no. I'm not interested in, if I'm not in the mix to be really good at it. But it's all just kind of weird validation again, isn't it?
Yes. But
there's loads of shit I'm terrible at, obviously. It's just that they're the things that I sensed that I could progress in, so I did it.
Right. Was it from that? Was it from PR where the kind of sickness started?
It was. I was circling the plug hole very gently for a very long time. I was functioning away, tipping away. It was just, as far as I was concerned, it was just a coping mechanism. Blah blah blah. But I had a lid on it, as it were. I would dabble. I think I would say I was dabbling with an eating disorder. I was kind of playing with an eating disorder. I wasn't like committed to it. Then when I was in PR, I was working as a publicist. It was just getting worse and worse. And that's what I think.
Was there something about that world that was doing it?
It's very pressurized.
Yeah.
And I wonder now, I mean, I could be talking out my art. I just wonder, was it that I wasn't doing something more creative? And then I left the job I was in. I went to work for a mental health charity because I thought maybe it's a sense of purpose that I'm missing. Maybe that's the problem.
So you did try and kind of fix this yourself. And you thought going to work in
a mental health charity would fix my mental health.
Right.
Funnily enough.
Right.
It made it worse.
And it got worse.
Of course it did.
Yeah.
And then I just completely lost my mind. So then I had to leave my job and my apartment and move home.
Wow.
Like, even when I came out about it, because I lied about it for so long, that when I finally admitted I had one, I wouldn't shut the fuck up about it.
More one woman shows.
Yeah.
Was there
You'd
a
be
show?
in the street, like, Joanne, how are you? And I'm like, bulimic. That was the vibe. I wouldn't stop.
Spotlight. You actually carried a spotlight round with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a mic around Grafton Street.
Yes. Right.
Like one of those Bible people on the street, just like telling everyone my business.
Yeah.
Because it's just, I suppose, part of the process where just the truth of it all. And then, then you kind of have to move on to the next phase, which is getting better. But
rebuilding yourself? Building yourself.
Rebuilding your relationship with food, learning how to eat again, learning how to feel full again, all that drama.
Wow.
Took ages.
And did that kind of bleed into performing?
That was why I had to leave my job and move home. And then, of course, I had nothing to do. I was only an outpatient in the clinic, so I would go in like a couple of days a week, but I wasn't staying in. I wasn't an inpatient. So in the evenings, I was just free to go around just being mental. And then I was very engaged with the illness, so it was like my full-time gig, really. And then what happened was, this is what happened. I was writing an anonymous blog about it, and one of my friends, Doug, sent it into a newspaper, and off the back of that, I got a column. And then I was suddenly like, oh, hold on, maybe I could work in something more creative than what I was doing.
And how long did it take you to kind of, I suppose, recover?
I mean, it's I'll always have to keep an eye on it.
I understand that. I suppose, and I totally appreciate that. I suppose what I mean is that when did we get to a state where you can?
Well, I was very lucky in that had I not, I think I just got so lucky with the people in my life at the time and them being very encouraging about getting me into the arts and performing. Because if I'd had to recover to go back to work as a publicist, I wouldn't have bothered. I'd just be like, you're grand, I'll just live in my mother's attic for the rest of my life.
Okay.
Keeping myself as thin as possible, because gave me a much bigger sense of achievement than going back. But then when I started dabbling with comedy, and that I was getting validation from that, and that was like,
okay, so let's pause there then. So you said your friends encouraged you to go into the arts. There's been this detour that we talked about.
Yeah.
that detour, you've studied, you've got a first, and it's your friends that have almost not forgotten for you, and your friends are going, this energy, the way you're, is it the way you're telling your stories, your natural...
They were new friends who were both in the arts already.
Ah, right.
So they weren't like my old school friends. They were like Una McKevitt, who's a director, who directed Singlehood. So I'm friends with her sister. So when I was kind of roaming around being mad, she was like, do you want to be in this show that I'm putting on?
She saw something?
Yes.
Wow.
Una, and then
another... well done, Una.
I know.
She saw it.
Yeah, totally.
And she said... So she was putting on a show...
She saw that I wanted it. At the time, I'd broken up with this guy and I was telling the story around town and people were laughing. And she's like, why don't you just come in the show and tell that story or whatever? And so Una, so she was a huge part of it.
That's what you were doing. Like you've said, that's what you were doing in the playground at lunchtime.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So then Una says, right, just do that, what you did there.
Yeah.
Do that, which is still what comedians say to comedians. Is, you might say something like, are you doing that as a bit?
Yeah,
no.
Yeah.
Do
exactly.
that, say that.
Exactly.
Well, how shall I say it? Just what you said there. Just say that.
And then it never works again.
Yeah, right. Okay. So Una puts you in Sisterhood.
Yeah.
Sisterhood.
Singlehood.
Sorry?
Singlehood.
Sorry, Singlehood. Was this that kind of epiphany? Is it here, or is it when we get into actual stand-up comedy with comedians? You do Singlehood and you go, these are my people, this is my world, done.
Yeah, done. So then I was like, I'm going to work in theatre, I'm going to act. I'm going to be an actress in the theatre. I loved the theatre, I loved everything about it. Just fucking loved having the cast and the routine of going in every day and being creative and being on stage. And
also it was something that you're whether you've put this together yourself, but it was something that your mum took you to. As a child, and that's as well. We
did Singlehood in the Olympia in Dublin, or in the Gaiety in Dublin, where I would have gone to see pantos and stuff. Wow. So I was delighted.
Full circle moment.
Then there was a male comedian who saw the show, and then he ended up joining the cast, and he said, "I think you could do stand-up comedy," and I obviously said, "There's no way. Like I've enough on my plate at the moment." I just never saw that journey. I was like, no.
So hang on. Well, all right. But at this point, you normally, someone says something, go and do it. You do it.
Yeah, no.
You said that, and that didn't even give you the hunger.
Well, do you know what he said? He said, and I'm going to sound very spoiled now, but this is what happened. He said, go down the clubs, like, and do five. And I just knew I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to go down the clubs and do 5. So he went, do you want to come? You can come and tour with me then if you want, and like come. And I was like, that I will do. I think I was desperate at that stage. I knew I didn't want to go back to my old life. Something had to change. I was really enjoying Singlehood.
The circuit and went straight to supporting on tour.
Well, I was the kind of middle bit. So he had a support.
Okay.
And then he was obviously the main act.
Yes.
And then I would just go out as this experiment and do 5. And then I think I don't know what I had at the end, but then, and then it just kind of started rolling.
Wow. And then almost like, you did at university, you go get a first, which is in stand-up comedy terms, what you've done with stand-up comedy and your podcast is essentially, that's like getting a first. You've got the masters in comedy.
Do you know
stand-up comedy? Or certainly from the outside, I know.
We don't know.
It's never going to fill the hole, I'm sure, but you know what I mean.
Nothing fills the hole.
Nothing fills the hole.
Fucking hole.
Oh, I'm so sorry. But
I was very determined then because the second comedy started working, and I was so lucky between the comic and Una. I was so lucky that they were so encouraging, and I know how lucky I was. Like I know that getting an easy entrance like that doesn't happen all the time. But once I was in, I fucking went like a dog with a bone.
I mean, we just joked there about it, of course, it not filling the hole. But was there a temporary?
Oh yeah. I was like, what's this?
Yeah.
I knew that I was like, this is it now. I don't believe in the universe. I've no belief system. But if I did, I'd be like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Was it something about, was there also that part? Because there's kind of two things when you enter, I suppose, stand-up comedy is, and I shouldn't really be answering this for you, but I'll put this to you.
Go on.
Is that, well, you've got the, I feel, I'm kind of home, which is being on stage.
Yeah.
Oh, this feels right. This is probably where I was meant to be.
Yeah.
But then there's also everything that comes with it. That's the other bit where you go, oh, these are my people.
I know.
Did you have that kind of, you've talked about being adopted. Like we said, there are a lot of comedians that are also adopted, but there's a lot of in stand up, perhaps in the other areas of showbiz, that searching for, what did you say, that validation, searching for attention, trying to fill that hole. These are more Joanne McNally.
I was like, without sounding really wanky, I felt for the first time in my life, I was like, I feel very seen by these people. They gave me the confidence that I didn't have myself to do the job that I wanted to do.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful to have had those people.
I know,
in your
so
life
lucky.
At that point. All right, so we'll end, I think, that in everything you've discussed, it seems like there's a clear low. There's a clear kind of rock bottom, which is when you're sick.
Yes.
I suppose. I think to anyone watching, these people have their own rock bottoms. What would you say to them, do you think, from everything that you've gone through in your life, that perhaps they might be able to find some confidence of their own in?
What happened to me was I got so fucking lucky that two people came into my life and brought me into theatre. And from that, and then one brought me into stand-up. And I just rode my fucking canoe as fast as I could once I found somewhere that made sense to me. So I don't know. That was what got me out of my situation.
Yes, but I would. You're right. At the same time, it's your determination that has made a success of those opportunities.
Yes, I was very determined because I knew I didn't want to go back to what I was previously doing.
There's a lot. Do you know what you've not said? I don't think in this entire chat. Hard work. There's an extreme amount of hard work that has gone into your comedy career so far, and you know, when you studied.
Drive, I think, more so. I'm driven. Yeah, it is hard work. I just wanted to be really good at it.
Great. Well, and you are.
Thanks, Sean.
So well done.
You're really good at it.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah.
That's not what I was fishing for. Thank you. That's it.
Is
You're off the hook. You can go.
Great.
You can reveal both sides of your face to the world.
Oh, thank God.
Yes.
Yeah, my left face is exhausted, being looked at all the time.
I've had to look at the other side. Oh my God, I've just been trying to throw
vomit.
up for an hour. Oh my God. No. Yes, bless you.
Can I say you look very distinguished at the moment? You'd know you've been on stage lately. Being a thespian.
Been in 2 plays, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't. Well, it's just because I've got 2 kids and I'm not 25.
I know.
So I can't wear I just chucked out loads of leather jackets.
No!
I tried them on in the mirror.
Send them to Africa. Don't put that in either.
But I gave them to charity shops.
Fine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The wonderful Joanne McNally there. Such a naturally funny woman, and a great pleasure for me to chat to her. Really interesting what she said at the end. I thought a nice piece of advice about just grabbing the opportunity. She kind of turned it on herself and just said that once she got that chance, she rowed her canoe as fast as she could. So it was wonderful to hear, and wonderful to put those dots of, you know, the little girl that was Joanne McNally, and make that connection between her and the woman I was sat opposite. And I think that was clear for everyone to see. Just a quick note to say, anyone watching on Spotify video or YouTube, sorry, this is just my voice. We made a last-second decision to double drop the Ramesh and Joanne episodes together, so I'm recording this from my bedroom, and you don't need to look at me in this state. If you think I look bad in the videos, you can't imagine me at home. It's truly awful. But look, please do us a huge favour. Please like and share and leave a comment, and let me know who you'd like me to talk to try and get in the chair, what class clown you'd like me to speak to, and I'll do my best to try and get them in. But that's all for now. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and we'll be dropping our next episode next Monday. Lots of love, take care.